Hello and welcome to Dario's Tabletop, and today I will do a video that's called How and Why I Got into BoltACtion, and I will show you a couple of things I did and why I fell in love with this game and why you might fall also in love with a cool game like BoltACtion. So let me start by showing you a couple of things. Here is, I don't know, what's this called? A batch of things that I painted. And as you can see, here is my Perry miniatures, British Army, some commandos from Warlord, a horse, some Terminators for 40k. I play also 40k. But let me pick out one mini. Let me pick out this guy. This is a Waffen-SS guy, or maybe Hitler Youth guy for my German army. And I had tons of fun painting this, assembling these, and playing the game. Maybe this channel will be also covering battle reports and painting things, but I have to say that I have a couple of systems in my collections that I play, but BoltACtion definitely, I don't know, has kind of ignited my BoltACtion, my miniature passion again. And 40k did it too with the 10th edition, but this is right now my #1 game. And let me tell you how it came to be. Let me show you two figures. These are from the German Grenadier box, and this might be a video on how you could start your army, what's valuable, what helped me a lot. I will recommend a few channels to you, like the Mordian Glory channel, the Hollywood Wargaming, the Schola Progranium, and Bo Mortensen. But let me start first with a story. So last November, October, a friend of mine was, he had acquired Resident Evil miniatures, and he wanted to paint them. And so we have a local hobby store here. It's called the Trolls Kingdom, and it's made up by people we know from I'm here in Germany, but it's like high school times. We know each other when we were kids. In fact, that's where my first Skaven minis came from, and Space Marine minis and orcs. And so we go back a long time. And we went there, and I've already been deep in the hobby since forever, and I hadn't played in a while last year, so I was out of the hobby for quite some time. And he called me up and he said, "Man, I know you have a collection of colors, and don't you want to accompany me and tell me what I should get or not get?" And I said, "Sure, let's go there. I need nothing. I have everything. I haven't played in a while. Like, the hobby right now is pretty dormant." And I used to play a lot of Age of Sigmar. Let me grab a miniature if I can to show you some stuff I have lying around here. So I'm pretty proud of this one, a beautiful high elf prince on Griffin. This is from the Isle of Blood, and man, this is like, I mean, this is fantasy. This is beautiful. And also, like, I had tons of fun painting this up and making the best I could. And let me grab another miniature. And also I went into Necromunda and Hordes and War Machine, but I was playing for the past years, more or less. Oh, I lost a bit. As you can see, Age of Sigmar. And I kind of liked it, but I was missing the fantasy. And then they announced Old World, and I was kind of happy. But it's not that like Age of Sigmar is a bad. It's not bad. It's a great system. It's just like I was missing a bit the fantasy. I like when there is some stakes involved, and so we went there. I was looking for nothing. I had everything I wanted, and he got his paints for his Resident Evil zombies, and a good friend, was playing BoltACtion. And in fact, the next day there would be a BoltACtion tournament. And I was kind of intrigued because in 2020, before the virus hit, or even earlier, I wanted to get myself into BoltACtion. I wanted to get myself a tank and play the Soviets. But then I kind of bought a couple of Age of Sigmar armies, and I couldn't afford to spend even more money, or didn't have the room to what do I say? I didn't have the room to accompany even more minis, and yeah, I was still intrigued by the game. And a day after that, on the Saturday, there was a tournament, and he said, well, come by, check out the tournament. I will run a Tiger and Strafbataillon, and we'll see how it goes. And I was kind of burnt out from working and all of that stuff. And I know that hobby is always a good thing to recharge your mental, physical, and spiritual capacities. And it's also good to have some time to rest, relax, rejuvenate. And so the next day, I kind of went by the store and watched him play. And I was also intrigued by the game and how it plays, because it's cool. I like the dices and the priority, and it's not you go then I go. It is somehow, well, do we get better lighting? It is somehow, I like the dice system. You bring a dice for each of your units. Let's say we have these units here, and then we get out the dice. There, it's called the order dice, and you can get them in several colors. I think they're a bit expensive. I wish they were a bit cheaper, but I don't know what it costs to manufacture them, and you can also play without them. You don't need them, but you get the order dice. And so every unit you bring, let's say, for example, you bring a Stug or a tank, and then you bring an armored car or a Puma, or you bring 10 soldiers, and then you bring your artillery piece, and you bring your mortar team and your medic. So each of your units gets a dice. And the beauty of it is that you put all the dice in a bag, or in somewhere you can not see it, and enemy or your player, the opposite player, puts all of the dice into a bag, and then you cannot see that, and then you draw dices from the bag. And let's say I draw a dice, and it's now not a gray dice, it's a green dice. It's his turn for his Russians or his Americans. Then we draw again. It's again one of his dice. He moves the units, he moves it, he shoots, he does actions. And then I take my dice and I do something with it. I allocate it to, let's say, my armored car, my Puma. I drive up, I shoot, it's called an advance, and then that's for that turn. Or maybe if he shoots at my mortar team or at my infantry, I can draw a dice from the bag, and I can go down with them, so they are harder to shoot and stuff like that. And I really like that. And while I was witnessing like the game, I liked pretty much the models. I liked the theme. I liked that it had somehow, I would say, high stakes, because an armored car like this, or a tank, doesn't have a gazillion shots. let's say the Stuk has a shot with his main gun, and then he can shoot his MG or MMG, or this Pak 40, which is a heavy anti-tank gun, can shoot one shot. That's it. And it has a crew of 4 people to operate it. And then the mortar can just shoot like once each turn, but it can dial in on the enemy. And so I was kind of intrigued because I came from Warhammer Fantasy and from 40k, and everything has, at least in its profile, it has a few shots. And that's a good thing. Like, sometimes I would like that these had a couple of more shots, but it adds to the realism, it adds to the grittiness and all of that stuff. And so I came home and I was kind of intrigued by the game and how it plays and the models. And I thought to myself, well, I always wanted to play this. Maybe I should get myself a starter pack. And the beauty about a BoltACtion starter pack is, let me put these ones aside, is that you buy a starter pack. Let's say I got then the German Grenadier starter pack, and I will tell you how I chose mine. But you will get a starter pack, and there are, for each faction, there are like Americans, there are major factions, Americans, Brits, Britain, Great Britain, armies of Great Britain, Germany, Soviet Union, and Japan. I think those are the major ones, and then there are also minor ones. You can also play, like, I wouldn't say Italians are minor ones, but there are now Italians, French, Hungarians, China, all of that stuff. And you can also buy a German army and play them as Italians. Like, it's not ideal, but you could do it. Or you could buy a German, or buy and assemble a German army, and you could play them as Hungarians, Romanians. You know, you get the idea. Like, because it could be that or you could play the Finns and just paint them in a certain color scheme and say, okay, I'm playing the Finns, or, well, I wouldn't play Germans as Russians, but you get the idea. You get an army, and you can kind of bleed into other different factions. And so I came home, but I didn't really understand the game that much. But I knew I wanted to get in, and so there was the task of, okay, how do I choose a faction? And the sniper claimed a great many scalps. And how do I choose a faction, and what do I do? But yeah, again, about the beauty of the BoltACtion starter. So here in Germany, you buy a starter and it costs you, like, let's say 120 euros, or here it's 114 euros. So you pay roughly 114 euros and you get everything you need. I would switch it on the back, but it's nothing really on the back. So let me open this up, and it's pretty much everything you need is in here. I will show you in a second. You get the Stuk, which is a tank. You get a Puma, it's an armored car, and it's played in reinforced platoon, which you can bring one tank, one armored car, one anti-tank, up to 5 infantry squads. And so you have everything you need in this box, and you can also kit bash everything you might want. For example, I showed you this sniper and a spotter, and I just kit bashed them from the minis I had. And so, okay, I have a sniper team now. And there are some teams let's focus in on them. And there are some teams you want a sniper, I would say. And as you can see, they were not in a box, but from the minis inside. I could assemble them. There was no medic in the box, but I just gave this guy a good paint job and gave him an armor box, which usually there is a light machine gun. There's a light machine gunner, as you can see here. There's a light machine gunner. Here's MG42, I guess. And it's hard to focus in sometimes. And then here, this guy brings the ammo kit with him, or yeah. And so you can kit bash pretty much all you need. And the beauty of a BoltACtion starter is that you get a lot for your money. You get a lot of minis, you get tanks, you get anti-tank gun, you get pretty much the whole army. And right from the get-go, with that army, you can play 1,000 points game, which would equal 2,000 points in 40k or in Age of Sigmar, right from the get-go. Of course, sometimes it's not the most ideal. There are better starters, or I don't want to say like all the starters are pretty great, but then you have to pick one for your taste, and there's not just one starter. For the German army, there are several starter armies. There's this German Grenadiers, which is the late war. Here you get all the toys you need. Then there is an early war and a mid-war, a Fallschirmjäger, an SS. In the SS kit you get a stock, and you get a Tiger tank, which doesn't kind of make sense because you can only field one tank, but you can swap it out. You can one time field a stock and one time field a Tiger, or if you play with another friend and you play, let's say, starter box against starter box, well, you can play them both, which would be pretty expensive and heavy, but why not? Like, you can just play for fun and historical stuff. And then there's the easy army part, where you can build your armies, which would be like a battle scribe for 40k. And as you can see, and then there are, and I will point you in a second to it, the Morty and Glory channel and the YouTube channels which will give you more advice. And so it was pretty cool. I knew I buy the box and maybe I don't need to add anything. I can paint these, I can enjoy them, I can add a few things, and that's pretty much the whole thing. As you can see here, like I can show you what came in the box. So it's a thick box, and everything I would say you kind of need. Besides, it doesn't contain the order dice. You need to buy these separately. Here in Germany, they cost like 20 euros, sometimes a bit cheaper, and you get a pack with 12 of them. And for a 1,000 points game, you at least need 12. We will talk later about order dice, but you don't need to worry. Like, you don't need the dice at the beginning. I also bought some of these paint sets on Amazon. I will link down in the link below affiliates if you want to get them. All the money from the affiliates will go into further, how do you say, miniatures or paints. But yeah, let me show you. It's a bit mixed and mashed. The sprues are great. They're pretty much all, as you can see here, bits and pieces of assault rifles. Yeah, arms, hands, helmets, faces. Again, this is now already looted, but as you can see here, and it's pretty fun to assemble, and it comes with all the bases you need. And I had so much fun assembling these. It comes also with how to assemble them, and then there are different stages of the war. Like, there's an early war, there's a late war. Yeah, I'm just rambling on, but then there's like, these are my Gebirgsjäger. which have a cap and look more or less like for a different theme, or this could be also painted up in a desert theme. And let me see, what do I have here? Here I have a truck. This is 3D printed. We will come to that in another section. Here's a Panzer IV in just gray. But yeah. And here's like my beloved, but right now medium machine gun team, which right now from the rules isn't that good, but BoltACtion version 3 is on the horizon. And so, yeah, let me show you something. So then I went home after I was at a hobby store, and I was, okay, so which starter set do I get? This one was at a local game shop, and then there was, I think, 2 or 3 other ones. There was the German Winter Army and Early War, and all of them were great, but they featured a different tank and some different units. And so I went home, and let me put the camera right here. Well, this is not ideal, but I kind of went to YouTube, and let me do this. We need a bit less light. So I went and I typed in like BoltACtion tactics, and I found the Mordian Glory. And as you can see, there is a best starter army for each faction, and I started watching those. And I started watching the battle reports, and while I was watching them, like Mordian Glory makes really funny ones, I started understanding the game, I started understanding the faction, what's good, what's not good. But I wasn't obsessing over anything. I was just like picking, what do I like visually, what would I like from play-wise, like each army plays a bit different. What does the German army? Well, the German army does a bit of everything, but it's very expensive, but it has every toy in the book, and I kind of liked it. I like the look of them, I like the lore, I like the paint scheme of the tanks and how the tanks looked. I looked at different tanks, I looked at Soviet tanks and units, I looked at the Chinese weren't featuring really tanks, they were kind of horde and fanatics. And yeah, I kind of dialed in on these. And Mordian Glory, I will link him also down below, was a great starting point to just get a feeling for what could be right. Then I found another guy, and he was called Hollywood Wargaming, and he also gives advice on certain units. He goes in depth. And then was also like, this is Scholar Progranium. He's the brother of Mordian Glory. And this guy also gives a great advice and shows cool battle reports of BoltACtion. And so I could start to see units, army compositions, funny ideas, and yeah. And then there's also like, if you're more advanced and you want to go into competitive BoltACtion gaming, there's Bo Mortensen, and he gives then great advice on the game and its mechanics. And yeah, and then from one of the Mordian Glory videos, I kind of watched what's the best German starter army for you. Again, I will link it down below. And I liked the units in this one. I liked the late war aspect. I liked that I get an armored car and a Stug. That you get a mortar, a heavy puck, and so forth. With the things I know now, I don't know if I would have chosen this one, because maybe I would have taken another box. But for the beginning and for the start, I went with what looks cool, what feels cool, what do I want to assemble, what do I want to paint. And here, the German starter Grenadier army was just great. I want to say, I think each starter pack from Warlord for BoltACtion is great. It comes with a lot of stuff. And maybe I will do my own what's the best starter army soon. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how I got in. And I have not regretted assembling, painting, and playing this game. It brought me a lot of joy. Sometimes it also brought me a lot of sadness when I lost, because I didn't know some things, and you learn by playing. But yeah, I will do some videos and we'll get you there. Have a nice day and maybe get yourself into BoltACtion. See ya.